Alright, welcome one and all to this third tutorial of Beast and Diplomacy. We are still talking about setup. Now this time we've set up the board in the previous tutorial. We're now going to work on setting up our players. Okay, so we're going to assume a, let's say, 3-player game. Okay, now I'm going to take the home base for each player and put it roughly away from the board so there's room. In Beast and Diplomacy, you're going to be building your tableau, so which we call exhibition in this game. So you're going to need some room to account for the various cards. In fact, so much so that I tend to prefer to place my player mat quite far to the side compared to where I sit. If you can imagine me sitting somewhere here, that's where I want it. I want it to my left in this case. You can also mirror it. We'll talk about that in a moment. So the second thing I'm going to need is I'm going to need my disk. Okay, so the disk I'm going to put somewhere in this area on the board. This will help us determine the player order, and we'll deal with them later. Just, somewhere near, maybe here, whatever you like. Next, we need our workers. Okay, so for our workers, the first thing we need to do is we need to consult this diagram over here on the board. Depending on the player count, we need to add as many workers as is indicated there. So in our case, we're playing a 3-player game. So I'm going to take 4 workers from the supply. There's 6 in total, right? 4 workers, and I'm going to move them to my home base. Okay, so I'm going to put 1 over here, 1 over here, 1 over here, and finally 1 over here. For example, you can put them in any orientation you want, as long as there's 4 on your board. Next, the other 2 that we've got, we're going to put 1 over here, and this one I'm going to show a bit more closely, and 1 over here. These get unlocked as the game progresses. As the days of the game progress, there's 3 days in total, we get new workers that we then add to our home base. So for now, that's where they go. Okay, now, next, we are going to need our cage. So I'm going to take my character card and put it beside the home base. As you can see, I'm leaving a substantial amount of space, so another card can fit here in a portrait orientation. Maybe I'm going to move this even further. Okay, now I'm going to flip this card, and there's my cage, ready to go. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to draw one environment for the top of the environment, place it beside the cage, and that's my starting environment that I get for free. Okay, so that's my exhibition setup. Okay, next we're going to take our player aid and we're going to put it somewhere close to ourselves, vaguely there. That's perfectly fine. All right, next we need our starting allowance, our starting ore. So I'm going to take a 10, another 5, and another 5. That's my initial money. Okay, every player starts with 20 ore. All right, and that concludes the setup for the orange player. So now we're going to repeat the same for the blue player. Now let's suppose you have a smaller table, right? And you can't fit everybody. That's fine. We're going to put the home base for the blue player in the opposite direction. We're going to take the 4 workers, put them on it. Then we're going to take the 2 workers that would go here, and this one we'll put here. There we go. We're going to take our disc, put it near the other disc. We're going to take our cage, and we're going to put it about here and flip it in the free environment. Now this one, instead of me going to the right of my home base, I'm going to the left. It makes no meaningful difference. It just means that I'm going to be expanding in this direction, whereas the orange player will be expanding in this direction. That's perfectly fine. The player aid, there we go. Some players may need it, some players may not, depending on their level of experience. And finally, we need to give the blue player, the blue knight, we need to give them their starting allowance of 20 coins. Again, in a setup of 10, 5, and 5. Now, for the last player, let's say they're on the opposite side of the table. That's fine, no problem. We're going to go over here. Flip it around. Actually, how about we do somebody else? I don't want to do yellow. Let's do purple. There we go. Purple. We're going to go over there. our cage, flip it. Then our disc over here, 2 workers, 1 over here. You can see that it's got its own color, right? 1 over here, there we go. Let's see how this looks like. That's how it would look like final, right? They would be sitting here. Then our 4 little workers, we'll put them in there. There you go, 1 more and 1 more. Really, how you want them to sit depends on your level of personal tidiness. Then we're gonna do the player aid, and finally our money. Oh no, I forgot the free environment. There you go, money, free environment, bish bash bosh, all done. Fantastic. Okay, so that's the initial thing. Now we're almost ready to play, not quite. So what do we do with these? Well, we would just put them aside right back in the box. I'm gonna fling them off of the table because that's the kind of rebel I am. Now, right, what else do we need? What we need now is we need to roll this die to determine who's going to be playing first. So one thing we all need to understand is what these discs are for. Let's talk about them real quick. These are a turn stack. Basically, whatever disc is on top of the other, okay, gets to go earlier in the turn order. So in this case, blue would go first, purple would go second, and orange would go last. And then this cycle would repeat whenever we take turns, okay? At the beginning of the game, this is determined by a random die roll, right? So whoever has the highest goes up top, and then we re-roll for any ambiguity. We'll see how that's done. Okay, and then we assemble the little tower and we put it here. Okay, so let's get that done. I'm gonna put this aside over here, and I'm gonna roll the dice. So let's say this is orange. Okay, orange rolled a 1. Let's say this is blue. Blue rolled a 2. And let's say this is purple. Purple rolled a 6. So in that case, orange rolled a 1. They're at the bottom. Blue rolled a 2. They're above orange. And purple, they're above everybody else because they got the highest number. Now, let's assume, just for the sake of explanation, that purple also rolled a 2, like so. Okay, what would happen then? Well, we do know that orange rolled a 1, so orange is definitely last. But we do not know if blue or purple would get to go next. So we would to roll again to disambiguate between the two of them. Okay, so this is blue rolling a 6. Whoops. And this is purple rolling a 5. Therefore, blue would go on top. Okay, so let's do that. Ta-da-dan, ta-da-dan. We place this here. Okay, now, what do we do with this die? Well, we put it on the first face, on 1, and we put it here. Okay, that indicates we're on day 1. As the die progresses, we would be rotating its face and taking these workers, yada yada. Okay, we still haven't used this cube. We're getting to it. Next, what do we need to do? Okay, so every player now knows their turn order. We need to give a small bonus to each player. This is explained in the rule book, okay, in or. So, the first player is blue. Blue gets nothing. The second player is purple. Purple will get 2 additional coins. So we would give them 1 and 2 additional coins. So their total budget to start is 22, not 20. What about orange, who's last? Orange will get 4 additional coins. Whoa, I didn't mean to take the entire bowl, but there we go. Okay, 4. So we got 4 additional coins. Beautiful. Now 24 for orange. What the next players would get is explained in the rule book. You can go check it there. But you know what? This is a video tutorial, so why not? I can explain it, right? Okay, so I've done a little scheme here so you guys can see. Everybody starts with 20. Or now the second player gets another 2, as discussed before. The third player gets another 4. So we would get 4 of these little coinies. We refer to them as or in the game. Next, the fourth player, would get 2 or and 1 king's favor. The fifth player would get 4 or and 1 king's favor. And finally, the sixth player, the one that is the absolute bottom of the stack, would get, oh whoops, I gave one too many, 2 and 2 king's favor. Now, king's favor is quite powerful. We'll talk about it as I teach you how to play. Okay, so that's how that would work. Now, what else do we need to talk about? So this has been updated. That's placed. This is placed. We are now ready to receive our starting hands. So each player will receive one beast. So I'm going to give one beast, and one beast. You can pick either deck to draw a beast from. It doesn't matter. One trader. One personnel. Oops, let me do one trader and one personnel. One trader and one personnel. And finally, two diplomats. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. They're drawn at random from the top of the deck. So, the players would then be able to examine their starting cards. And at that point, when they say they're ready, the game is ready to begin. And that concludes the tutorial for the full setup of the player exhibitions, as well as the board. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, where I explain to you how to actually play the game.